Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the setup of the Razer Audio Mixer. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, the settings to tweak on the microphone, and in this case I'm using the Shure SM7B, so the settings for that in terms of things like noise compressor and also the thresholds and other bits, and I'll put all that information in the description as well. I'm also going to talk you through the routing of various things and how to do that. So I'm just going to demonstrate that and show you that in Streamlabs OBS. It'll also work in OBS, and just talk to you through a few of the different things that you can do. I'm not going to cover off things like lighting because that's fairly obvious and straightforward. Basically just different lighting there. I'm also not going to talk about voice changing effects here. I've covered some of that in the review video that I did. I'm going to focus on the mic setup and the mixer. So the output that goes into the stream mix and what you can do in here. And I'm going to start by showing you what to do in Windows, because this is the most important point to get started with it. So you go into your sound settings by right clicking on the speaker and clicking sound settings in the bottom right of your taskbar. From there, what you need to do is find two devices. Assuming you have this plugged in already with the USB-C cable, you should see as default system as your output device. So you'll look for system, in this case it's marked 3, Razer Audio Mixer. You'll notice that there are several other important ones, including music, radio audio mixers, and also game and chat down here. But do not use any of those. They are for specific things that I'll show you in a second. Scroll down to your microphone input and look for microphone, Razer Audio Mixer. Again, clearly marked as Razer, but you will also notice things like console. We don't want to use that. We don't want to use the voice chat one. I will show you where you use those in a second. Now what we've done is we've set up the mic system so that your microphone audio is going in from your mic, in this case the Shure SM7B, but any other XLR microphone that you have connected into it. And then also that everything that you are then going to put into that will come out here. This includes things like Spotify, sound from your browsers, game audio, Discord chat, etc., etc. And on that note, I'm going to quickly demonstrate something else. So one of the things that you will see in the software is the mixer effect, and you will have here your output mixer. What you need to do is to think about the two different things. You have playback mix and you have stream mix. So the playback mix is what you'll be hearing in your headphones that are plugged in. So you plug in a 3.5mm connection to the headphone jack on the audio mixer. You then have that sound directly playing in your headphones on the playback mix. You'll see that you have mic, chat, music, game, optical, line-in system. Opticals from consoles, line-ins from streaming PC or any 3.5mm thing you've plugged in. But you also have various different channels. You have your mic, which is obviously standard. You have chat, which we're going to set up in a minute, so Discord audio. Music can be any music source that you choose. I'm going to use Spotify, but you might use something else. Amazon Music, for example, or Tidal, or Apple Music, or even dedicated music on your PC. But I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Game audio is obviously an important part of it as well. Now, you don't actually necessarily need to assign game audio because that will just be playing through your system and it will automatically get pulled into the stream mix. But it is worth bearing in mind when you're doing all this, what you're setting up. Now you can see that there is a difference between playback mix and stream mix. They're both there. Stream mix is the mix that you're going to put into OBS, Streamlabs OBS, or whatever else you're using as your output audio source. And in doing this, you're then channeling these various things. So I could untick line and optical, for example, and I could even do that here because I'm not going to use either of those, but that's obviously going to depend on your setup. You may choose, for an example, to have music on your stream but not have it play for yourself. So you could untick music from here, and then when you're playing music you won't hear it but your stream will. Or you could do the other way around, so you could set music so you can hear it but your stream can't, so it doesn't go into the stream mix. All of this will become clear in a minute if you're having trouble following me. You can also mute these here individually as well, and you'll notice that you can also adjust the volume of each here. Now on the initial customization panels, you'll see that you have channel mapping. So at hardware level, you have the 4 channels. Channel 1 is as standard your mic, channel 2 is game audio, channel 3 is chat, channel 4 is music, but you can select to put in something else. If you have no plans to use music on your stream, for example, you might just choose to have it as the system. Now, channel 4 is suddenly the system audio slider, which means whatever you're hearing through your headphones that are plugged into it, you can just grab this slider and drag it up and down and adjust your audio. But you do have the option to use this as you so choose, and you can do it at software level. So you can drag it here, for example. We could set music, and you can do it in percentage or in decibels. So you could have music at 100%. Maybe you want to set music to like 20% or something. So you've just got some nice chilled out background music for your audience. Now, just as a demonstration of how to do this, I have Spotify open here with Harris Heller's Stream Beats, which is copyright free music that you can use. So I'm just going to play this temporarily and have that playing now. And we can then adjust the levels on there. Notice that is making no difference, and the reason for that is because we haven't set it up properly. So what we need to do is to go into settings here. We scroll down and we find Spotify music. We then choose the output device as music Razer Audio Mixer. Now you're suddenly noticing that it is dropped down in volume. And you can see that we can adjust the audio levels here. Also, I have it ticked on music on both the stream mix and the playback mix. If I now turn this down a little bit, if I now drop the music out of the stream mix, you will stop hearing it, but I'll continue to hear it. And now if I do the opposite, you'll be able to hear it, but I won't. And you'll actually be able to see the difference here, because if I stop speaking, you'll see that the stream mix is playing and the bars are moving, but the playback mix isn't. So that is obviously an option in how you do that. Now this logic applies to everything that you do. So if you start a game up, you need to start a game up and then find it in here in order to be able to do this. So for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to quickly start Ready or Not up. Once you've got your game set up, you'll then have game and music as separate things, and you can then control the volumes of them and whether they're actually showing up in the software. The next one to do is Discord, and this is going to be for the chat setup. So you go into Discord and go down to the bottom where it says user settings. Click on that and find voice and video. We then need to go into the drop down and select voice chat, Razer Audio Mix, and as your output you also want to find chat as a Razer Audio Mix. And what this does is it ensures that when you're talking to your friends in your Discord, that is pulled into the stream mix, but also that you can adjust the levels of that, so you can turn the chat up and down. So if your friends are particularly loud and rowdy, then obviously you don't want them to overpower you to your audience. Also, it gives you the ability to then mute them on the fly really easily and quickly by pressing the mute button on the channel. So you can see channel 3 is chat, so we can just press the mute button on that, and that will actually completely mute your friends so you can talk directly to the audience without any interference or distraction. Obviously, also because you've set up your game audio, you can then use the volume slider or even the mute button to mute the game audio, and the same sort of logic for music, and you obviously have control over all of these. You can also set where it's going to be muted, so you can see you can choose what the mute button does. You can see you can set it so it only mutes the playback mix, it mutes the stream mix, or it mutes it to line out, which would be used for streaming PC setup, for example. Or you can mute the voice chat only, mute directly to voice chat, as in make sure your friends can't hear you. So there's loads of options in terms of where you channel things, and all you need to do is basically go into the app's settings within the Windows sound settings. So once you set up Discord, you go into the drop down. It's the same sort of logic. You find your chat channel on the output and you put it in there, and now output sound from Discord goes into this chat, and then the volumes can be adjusted in there. So same sort of logic for your game, for your music programs, and for Discord or whatever else you're using. If you're using a different chat service, you can do it that way. And then what we then need to do, obviously, is then to set up our Streamlabs OBS or OBS, whatever else you're using. So here I'm going to use Streamlabs OBS. So as demonstration purpose, here is my usual setup. You'll see I already have it set up down the bottom here. So what we do is you click on the little cog icon, you look for your audio settings, and then you make sure everything else is disabled. You want one single input into this, and that is the stream mix, and it goes under your mic settings, because it is, yes, a microphone, but it's also a mix of all the channels that you've selected and everything within the software and the hardware being put into one channel. So it goes into OBS or Streamlabs OBS or whatever other streaming service you're using, and then it's all mixed into there. And then you have hardware controls within Razer's Mixer audio tool or within Synapse, rather than individual controls on here. So normally what you do with OBS or whatever is you set up multiple different audio sources in here. You might apply a filter to them for noise cancellation. You might adjust the volumes up and down in here and tweak things. But now you can do that all from one control box, and it gives you a lot more power to be able to do that and customize it. And you can see I don't have any other audio sources. This makes life a lot easier. You don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, you'd end up putting game audio in here and mic audio, desktop audio, music audio, and then trying to mess about with them all in here. This system with Razer's setup makes life a lot easier. So that is how the basic setup goes and what you do to customize the options there. You then also have your line out, so you can choose what's routed to line out. This can be useful in a number of different ways. I did a video previously on how you can use this, for example, to just route out your game audio and nothing else. So you could then put that out to your PC, and then you could put it into OBS so that you could just have sound from the game. So if you're recording footage with your friends and they're talking a lot and you're talking a lot, and then you get a funny clip, but you just wanted to be able to clip that for YouTube or Twitch or whatever else and upload it, you just want the game audio, you could do that here, because then the line out source with 3.5mm connection from the box goes into your PC or your streaming PC or whatever setup you have, and then just carries that out as a separate source. You can then go into OBS or Streamlabs OBS, set that up as a separate source, set that to record only and not go into the stream at all, and then you have that recorded as well. And you can sort of apply that logic to anything. So if you just, for example, want just your mic and nothing else for some reason, or just music, there are options. So it is really customizable in a number of ways. So here we are in the mic settings, and this is obviously the most important thing and the most useful for you. And there are some tweaks that you can make to noise gate, compressor and gain settings in order to adjust the microphone and get it sounding good, which is obviously an important part of this process. And one of the reasons why the Razer Audio Mixer is fantastic and why it competes with something like the Go XLR Mini And what you'll see is there are a few options immediately. So we have phantom power, 48 volts, and that's not turned on at the moment. I'm using a Shure SM7B, which doesn't require phantom power, but it does require some tweaks in order to get working. But if you're using something like the Blue Ember or some other condenser microphone that requires phantom power, then you can turn it on here. There's also a hardware button, so you can turn it on there. I set it at 53 decibels of gain, which I found is pretty good at the moment. And you have a meter below that which registers how much of it's being picked up. And the goal here is obviously not to go into the red too much, and also to avoid any levels appearing when you're not talking. So you can see, for example, if I stop talking now, you won't see anything. Pay attention to that, because in a minute that will be important. That's being affected by noise gate and compressor settings. We can also adjust various mic equalizer settings here and go between various different sound profiles to change the quality of my voice and improve the sound, and you can obviously customize that as well. So that's the first step. Now I'm going to show you how I tweak these things and what I've tweaked in order to deliver a better quality of sound. I'm going to leave the settings that I'm putting in the description so that you can try them out for yourselves, but you will find that you need to tweak things around probably. So in a second I'm going to reset these sounds profiles that I've set up, and then I'm going to carry on talking to you, but what you'll experience is that the sound will change quite significantly. There will be some background noise, but I'm also going to level out the sound and normalize the levels so that you don't have to turn your headphones up and down. So just bear that in mind. Actually, in reality, I will be a lot quieter, but you won't experience that. But when you do it yourself, you will find that if you're not using compressor, for example, you'll probably be a lot quieter than you want to be. And so it's important to tweak these settings around. I want to demonstrate some of that now. So in order to reset, we can go up here and we can click factory reset. This is useful if you've played around with the settings and you can't quite get it right, but you're not sure what you changed and you're not sure what to change it to or where to start from, or if you just made a mistake, or if you want to go back to basics, as I'm going to do now. When I do this, obviously this sound will change from here. I know roughly that I need about 53 decibels of gain in order to get this working properly. Other things that I did that you will have noticed is went into the mixer and made sure the playback mix and the stream mixer maxed out, just so that I can hear myself and end up working out what the end result is going to be, and then turn the mic monitor on. If you find the mic monitor doesn't work properly, I found that if you adjust the mic volume on the hardware slider, that does kick it back into life, and that seems to work then. So if that's a problem, then that's one of the things you can do. So the next step is we're going to do the compressor. And when I turn that on, you'll immediately notice quite a difference. You can hear a little hiss in the background noise, which we'll get rid of in a minute with noise gate. But this also brings all the levels a bit better and makes things sound a lot nicer. But one of the things you'll notice with the compressor is now suddenly we're seeing green appearing on the bar here, even when we're not talking. And you can apply this sort of logic. So when we're going through and we're tweaking the settings, our goal is to get rid of that, make it still sound good, get rid of the green appearing here when you're not talking or when there's other background noise, and making it run a bit better. So one of the things you can do is you can pay attention to this, but you can also get your Streamlabs OBS or OBS open, and you can look at the mix at the bottom and see the bars here, and you can watch the mix of bars and see what happens. So if I stop talking, you should see it drop off, have a little bit of movement down here. So you can see there's a little bit of movement still. And obviously our goal is to eliminate that so there's no hiss and background noise. So the settings that I've found work. The best thing to do is to open it up to show more, and there's quite a lot of different things that you can do in here. Now you obviously need to play around with these, and the goal, as I said, is to tweak these settings so that these bars drop down. But once you combine the two, you might find you need to play around with both of them. So I'm going to set this to minus 10 decibels. The softening width is 30 and a ratio is 4. And then I found about 8 decibels on gain. 2 milliseconds on attack and about 100 roughly on release. Now you can see, although it is appearing still ever so slightly, it's not constant, it's not as much, and it's knocked it out a little bit. Now when we go to the noise gate settings, you'll see again that's changed completely. And even with that turned on basic setting with -15, you can see it's knocked off some of it, but I don't sound as good right now. And what you can do is you can go into here, you can adjust the threshold, the reduction, and the attack and release time. So if you push the threshold as far to the left as possible, it basically takes the noise gate completely off. So we want to basically move this slider along until the green bar stops appearing. Now you can see that's no longer appearing there. And if I just open up Streamlabs, it should be the same thing. So that basic setting has then knocked off a lot of that problem. Also found that roughly 36 decibels of reduction really helps for me because I have a lot of traffic noise outside, which is also an issue there. And then these changes, change the ratio on that. That if you tweak it properly and get it right. But also what you don't want to do is have your voice cutting in and out, and if you get the noise gate or compressor settings wrong, that can lead to that sort of issue. The other thing we have is the mic equalizer settings, which is where you can change the sound of your voice. So you can choose to have a radio voice, which makes it a bit deeper and boomier. There's a balanced option. Then there's mid-focused as well, and default, but you can also obviously customize it, so you could put in absolutely loads of bass, for example, or take all the bass out and make it quite tinny. Maybe throw in a bit of treble. Play around with these until you're happy with how your voice sounds. Now we do have some effects as well. There are other things that you can do.
So you can turn on the voice changer, and we can now have a cartoon voice.
And then obviously there's a bit of a monster, and then there's a low pitch, which is kind of a monster as well, which I don't really understand what the difference is there, because they sound the same to me. Monster. Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and I'm a bit of a monster.
And then we have a really high, well, it says it's high pitched, but it doesn't sound high pitched from my voice. Or maybe it does. Anyway, you can see. So
those are kind of gimmicky, but they're there as an option. And then if you want to change the sounds, you can also be in a library, or you can be in a chapel, or you can be in an arena, or you can be in a marble room, or in a small concert hall, or you can set it as custom and have a very, very, very tiny room that sounds good. And there are various things about these, obviously. They're a bit silly. Those are silly additions, but it's nice to have some things that you can tweak. Now, these are line-in effects, and you can click on these. So this is if you're running something into the audio mixers from the 3.5mm connection. And I generally don't have anything that I use that for, but you might if you have a console or something, or a phone or something you want to run the audio source from. You could run a 3.5mm connection into here. Then you'll see that you can adjust the pitch and tempo of any audio input of the line in by adjusting that. And you can do some fading. So there's some fading with any voice that's detected coming in through the line in port. So I suppose this will work if you've got a streaming PC set up or something along those lines, or console, like I said. And then you have the lighting effects. So the lighting I've already showed a little bit in the footage, and you can see that you can basically change various elements of the lighting. So you can see we can set a static color for the Razer logo, for example, or you can make it breathe and go between different colors. You can put different lighting on the faders, and there's basically a background for that and then a foreground. You can also have it react, and so you can see that you've got an input meter, for example. You can make it react to when you're talking, or you can make it just be You can either have it set as what the volume level is currently for that slider, or you can set it so it reacts to the sound that's going into it. You can also change the color of the buttons, right down to like when the mute button for each line is active, what color that would be from here, and what color it goes when it's inactive, so when you've pressed it. And then there's the mic mute button as well, which is in the bottom right, so you can press that temporarily to mute yourself.
So when you press and hold the mic mute button, it turns on the voice changer for some reason. And then, yeah, we can do that again. Let's do that
again. There we go back to normal. Right, strange, but okay. So the other thing you can do is obviously to set up the sound. So I'm just going to use a fake thing that I have in Streamlabs. So when we go into the mic, you can see it's set default. So we're just going to disable everything for the moment. So what you want to do when you're setting this up is you go into your Streamlabs or OBS audio sources, and we're looking for the mic settings. So we want mic only. You don't want desktop audio or anything else. You want your mic only, and you'll look for the Stream Mix 3 Razer Audio Mix. And what that does is that pulls in everything into that one audio output. That will take your Discord chat. It will take your game audio, any system sounds that you've got, anything that you've decided to pull in through the audio mix. So anything that you've put in here, so you can see mic, chat, music, game, optical, line in, system, for example. So if we take game and music out, those wouldn't go into the stream mix, but you'd still hear them in here. And that's how you get it through into there. What you'll need to do in Discord, for example, is go to your sound settings. Go into voice and video, and you'll need to select the chat mic, which is voice chat. So we set voice chat on both of these. Chat. So now we've got voice chat in and voice chat out. So doing that then means that the audio from Discord from your friends then gets mixed in, and then you can adjust it. So you might want to turn your friends up, so you might want to have them nice and loud, or perhaps they're a bit too loud and you want to take them down a bit. And so you have to play around with that setting and sort of work out where you want them to be. It's also worth noting you can do all this in decibel or in percentage as well. So one of the things you will have noticed is that the hardware for the audio mixer also has the ability to plug in a 3.5mm connection. So right now I'm using the headset mic from an Audio Technica headset that I'm currently testing out, and this is the capture quality of that. And just to reassure you, the XLR connection from the Shure SM7B is no longer plugged in. You can see it here. So this is no trickery. This is a 3.5mm connection plugged into the audio mixer and then pushed through in the same sort of way. And you can also apply the noise gate settings as well to the same thing. So we can tweak. So you can tweak the settings. So you can tweak the settings here, and you can do the compressor as well. So if you found that your headset mic isn't doing the business, then you can do it here. And you can go through these. It doesn't seem to have some. It's not the same. Obviously, it's not as powerful as the XLR, but you do have the option to
do that, and
you can still do the silly voices
and whatever.
So that's pretty interesting. So that's an interesting option. So if you want to buy this device, and then you can't afford an XLR mic at the moment, but maybe you want the power of the routing software and everything you can do with it, and changing the levels and the way you route in the sound, you can do all that, but still use a headset mic for the time being, and then save up and purchase a better XLR microphone. Pretty impressive and interesting. And side note, this microphone on this headset is apparently very good quality, so watch out for that review. If you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe to see it. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.